Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today, we are going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, as well as the vast majority of crypto and finance. And with that being said, I hope that you're all having a beautiful day or a beautiful night, wherever you guys are out there in the world. I'm going to take you guys back to this post that I did have on X back in September, actually. And I said, when I come back to this video, it's so clear that Ripple has already won. Many people will say it's an old video or it's a nothing video. They are the same ones that say all the private meetings with central banks and global elite organizations are nothing too. You have numerous documents from the World Bank, the BIS, IMF, and various other organizations that mention Ripple and XRP. Most of these documents only mention Ripple and XRP too, which should tell you something. Call it speculation, call it whatever. In my opinion, XRP will be a big piece of the restructuring of our global system. Now, before I play this video, I actually want to go back to this quote up here where it says, it's an old video, it's a nothing video. We have been focused on Ripple and XRP for a while now, and it kind of goes back to the whole idea of like, when did XRP really launch, right? Back in 2012. And it's been about roughly 12 years. Okay. If we think about that, go back to ISO 20022. Now, I just recently said this in a video, actually. ISO 20022 launched in 2004. It didn't get adopted until now, and it's not even fully adopted. Right, 2025, 2026, they're expecting it to be fully adopted. So you're talking about roughly over 20 plus years. Some of the biggest changes around finance and around our global system, it takes time. Now, during that time, do you have to miss out on other opportunities? No. I've always said this, XRP is not the only thing that I hold. I don't think anyone should only be holding XRP. I think that's ridiculous that we have these maxis in this space, even around XRP, that will say, oh, I don't need anything else. I know XRP is a winner. It doesn't matter if we know that it's a winner or not. In the short term, we can make a ton of profit on other altcoins as well and, shuffle that money back into XRP if it is still ranging. I have a bag of XRP. Everyone should have a goal on what they want to hold in terms of XRP, but I have a bag of XRP that I just simply won't sell. I don't care to sell it because I feel as though the connections are so strong that I pretty much know that XRP is destined to have a massive success in time, because we're already starting to see the pieces falling into place. Everything around us is changing, especially finance, and it's all moving towards digital, and it's all faster. How can we make transactions go as fast as possible and at, a fraction of the cost today? Well, we already know that a company, aka Ripple, has been focused on this for well over a decade now. But listen closely to this video.
Can you see those? Oh, there's 2 votes.
Let me try.
Do you see IMF holding crypto assets in the future? Oh, they're over here. That's easier. You want to take one? Go for it. The first one's for you. IMF. Do you see IMF holding crypto assets in the future? I did not put that up there.
Remember, I'm from the legal department. I'm supposed to be very conservative about these things. I don't want to go into great details about
Maybe I should take what the IMF is going to do. I think we stunned Ross into silence with that one.
For that to
Now, there you guys have it. Again, this is just a little of a... It's kind of like a funny little video, right? But when you have someone like Brad Garlinghouse on stage with Ross Lecco of the IMF, and he's laughing about something like this, like, think about how substantial this actually is. Now, big shout out to XRP Drops because he did expand on this. We have the IMF, Ross Lecco sitting next to Brad Garlinghouse. Thanks, Ripple, for its expertise, advice, and guidance. I'm very happy to say that Chris Larson, one of the co-founders of Ripple, are both part of that group to help guide the IMF. Ross Lecco, IMF, 1990 to 2019, now at the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements. Check this out.
we are engaging very closely with the private sector and the industry. and last year put in place a high-level advisory group of industry leaders from the private and public sectors to help guide us in our work on fintech. I'm very happy to say that Chris Larsen, one of the co-founders of Ripple, and Sapnendo Mohante from the Monetary Authority of Singapore are both part of that group, and we're very grateful for the advice that they give us.
Now, over here, we also have Ripple at the IMF Advisory Group. Ever since 2017, the IMF brings key stakeholders together to foster collaboration on fintech. Now, look at all of these names. Guys, you have Circle on here, all right? You have Alibaba, you have BBVA, you have the DTCC, the US Treasury, you also have the Bank of Indonesia, European Central Bank, you also have just Chain, Digital Asset. Then we also have Directorate for Financial and Enterprise Affairs, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. We also have MIT, Monetary Authority of Singapore, People's Bank of China, Harvard is there, blockchain.com, Bank of Canada, Count, and then also Luxembourg House of Financial Technology. Now, over here, we have a little bit of a better glimpse at just all of the major names. Just take a quick look at how they have this set up, right? So first off, you have the IMF there, you have the Monetary Authority of Singapore, but then at the center point, you have Ripple, you have Chris Larsen. I just find it very interesting that these are all of the names on this advisory group. Yet we have all of these conversations of like, oh, is Ripple even working with the IMF? Is Ripple working with any of these big names? Is Ripple going to be a part of this new financial system? You know, as we look at the SEC lawsuit, like all of these major announcements around like the SEC lawsuit, guys, it's all noise. Like the lawsuit to me doesn't mean anything. Why? Well, because look at all of the names that Ripple's tapped in on, right? Outside of this, remember that Ripple has been working with the IMF since like going back to 2016, 2017. They have been working with the biggest leaders out there for years now. And it's not a secret, right? Like you can go and find all of this information. Like it's in the documents, it's in PDF files. But beyond this, we also have Brad Garlinghouse doesn't miss a chance to introduce XRP to the financial elite. It takes exactly 30 seconds as he sits next to IMF's Ross Lecco, starts his introduction, and explains XRP. Know what you hold. Check this out.
Well, as was introduced, my name is Brad Garlinghouse. I have the good fortune of being the CEO at Ripple. For those of you not familiar with Ripple, Ripple sells a set of technologies to banks and other financial institutions that dramatically accelerate the ability for banks and regulated financial institutions to settle transactions between each other. We have a series of products ranging from fiat to fiat transactions, also transactions leveraging digital assets. Native to our tech stack is a digital asset called XRP that we allow banks to eliminate the need for pre-funding. Well, as was introduced.
So you guys have it. And again, you know, as we look at that initial video, like this is all pretty much around the same exact time frame. Obviously, some of these are different discussions, different meetings, things like that. But one thing to really kind of take from all of this is like there's no other CEO on the stage like this talking to Ross Lecco, who has been, you know, working with the IMF, and now he's at the BIS, which by the way, yeah, like we're going to talk about him going over to the BIS here in a second. But there's nobody else out there like this that is so well connected with these organizations that are the ones making decisions around our current financial system. Like, let it be known that our current financial system, like there's a lot of organizations tied to it, but Ripple's already working with all of the biggest names. The IMF, the BIS. I mean, like I said, it's all out there in public view. It's all out there in the open. You can see all of this. But over here, we have Ross Lecco, who explicitly emphasizes that Ripple guides the IMF on certain issues. See post below. Has worked for the IMF for 29 years and for the Bank of International Settlements for 4 years. The inner circle remains small, and Ripple is closely associated with both institutions. And yeah, they are, right? Like, you know, one thing I want to, you know, talk about is the recent meeting with the US Treasury. You know, we talked about it slightly on the channel already. We've made 2 videos surrounding it. And I don't know if I can find it quick, but you guys are probably all aware of it. It's these meetings, these private meetings with these major names that really kind of emphasizes the idea that like Ripple is well connected. Ripple is working with the biggest players out there. And I can't find it for you guys, but I'm sure that you guys are already aware of it. Like Ripple's well in these small circles with these very large names that are the ones pulling the strings. Like this is his job, right? Head of strategy and operations and deputy to the head of the BIS Innovation Hub, acting head of the BIS Innovation Hub, and also senior advisor, fintech strategy and legal. That was his, that's his three main positions that he held at the BIS. The current one is obviously the head of strategy and operations and deputy to the head of the BIS Innovation Hub. Outside of that, he was the deputy general counsel at the IMF. And it's just crazy to me that someone like this, already told us like, hey, like Ripple does help us. Like they help us on certain issues. They guide us on these certain issues. But then we also have the CPMI group, right? Like this is the Cross-Border Payments Interoperability and Extension Task Force. And this was back in July. And this is like not even, 2 weeks after XRP got cleared as not a security. You have Ripple on here. Ripple's like the only name on here fully embracing a public blockchain technology like the XRP-L and XRP. And they're on here and they're one of, a few major names. Obviously, Swift is on here as well and, other names. But you also have major banks on here, like major banks. Nubank is one that has ties back to Ripple. We've talked about them in the past. And a lot of these banks on here also have worked with Ripple in the past or are currently working with them. And it's just crazy to me to really look at all these connections and like kind of come to the conclusion like, oh, Ripple and XRP won't play a role. Like the XRP is getting replaced. Like we always see like some sort of new announcement from like a major bank like JP Morgan, like, oh, hey, like we're going and we're targeting cross-border payments. Guys, that doesn't mean that XRP is getting replaced. That doesn't mean Ripple is being replaced. At the end of the day, JP Morgan is also tied to the CPMI group. I've talked about all of the major banks that are tied to the CPMI group as well. They outline it in the full announcement of the CPMI. But JP Morgan is one of those names. There's a lot of ties back to JP Morgan. Remember, JP Morgan also met with Ripple at their internal offices. Like, it's crazy that people don't realize how connected JP Morgan is with Ripple as well. All of the back and forth big show and the games being played, it's all nonsense. Outside of the CPMI group, though, there was a recent breakdown and a recent announcement from the Bank for International Settlements, and it was the BIS CPMI group, the Committee on Payments and Market Infrastructures, has published a high-level recommendation, key features and guiding questions to inform parties involved in service-level agreements used in cross-border payment agreements. Now, over here, we have the full breakdown. Again, they kind of give us a little bit of background to this. It's all around the G20 goals of making cross-border payments cheaper, faster, and more transparent and more accessible. And that's by the end of 2027, by the way. While we already know with the FSB guided by the G20, they're trying to bring in global crypto regulatory frameworks by the end of 2025. We'll probably have regulations around like 2026. So, to meet these goals and these targets by the end of 2027, it's pretty straightforward timeline. But outside of that, right, like within this, there's a lot of information. Now, I want to fully break down the full guidelines behind this PDF file, which is the cross-border payments ecosystem is intricate, involving various parties, infrastructures, and arrangements. Payment arrangements such as correspondent banking relationships and interlinking between payment systems play a crucial role in facilitating cross-border payments. These arrangements establish service levels and guidelines for participants, covering legal frameworks, risk management, and interoperability. Inadequate design and lack of harmonization can lead to complications, but high-level recommendations, key features, and guiding questions provided in the report aim to assist entities in reviewing and establishing effective payment arrangements. Applying these recommendations proportionately can promote harmonization without overwhelming smaller arrangements. While informed by principles for financial market infrastructures, by the way, this PFMI, that's the group that I was talking about where JP Morgan is actually involved. The recommendations do not impose additional standards, but offer insights to stakeholders and authorities. The report encourages stakeholders to consider its findings, especially those with significant growth potential, and suggests that overseers integrate its insights into their oversight approaches. Furthermore, the report will inform ongoing efforts by the Committee on Payments and Market Infrastructure, CPMI, regarding the governance and oversight of interlinking arrangements in fast payment systems, fostering dialogue with industry stakeholders. And then over here, we have 2 images. Now, these 2 images are stylized models and examples of bilateral payment arrangements. This is graph 1. We can actually see we have the service provider contracts at the top. You have the payment system roles on both sides, bilateral interlinking arrangement. Then we also have another bilateral correspondent banking and arrangements. And then we also have the end user contracts on the bottom. Down here, we also have stylized models and examples of multilateral payment arrangements, part 2. This is the graph 2. And this is, let me zoom in so that you guys can see this a little bit better. We have service provider contracts at the top, payment system roles, multilateral interlinking arrangements, multilateral PSP arrangement as well, and then the also end user contracts. And all of these, we actually have down here a little bit of a breakdown. The focus of this report is shaded in green. An example of a multilateral interlinking arrangement is Nexus. Examples of multilateral PSP arrangements are the European Payments Council schemes for credit transfers or direct debits, international card schemes, and also Swift GPI. You could also fit Ripple into this conversation because Swift GPI is very similar to what RippleNet is trying to do, which is why, like when you go over to Volante, for an example, you could tap into Swift GPI or even RippleNet in the cloud. So Ripple would essentially be also in this dialogue in terms of that green area where you could fit RippleNet into that. But outside of this, right, like the CPMI group, pretty much all of these discussions, every single thing that we are seeing, it's all steered by those names on the CPMI group, similar to, Ripple steering the IMF on, certain problems. The big thing to really focus on here is just how many of these global organizations, major names, giants in the financial realm, is Ripple working with, right? And again, as I've said, Ripple is working with pretty much almost every major giant out there. The ECB, the BIS, multiple central banks outside of the ECB as well. Ripple, the head of payments at Ripple, was in, it was like a conference, if you will, with the head of payments at Swift and also Citi, talking about the new rails for the new world. Like, you can't make this stuff up. This is why I say, like, as you look at the IMF, as you look at the BIS, the World Bank, all of these documents around Ripple and XRP, it confirms everything that we have been talking about for the longest time, which is, Ripple is working with these players. Ripple is in that small circle, and it's a very small circle. If you're not in it, then you're falling behind. I've talked about how Hedera is kind of working in that small circle as well. I've connected the dots. There's a few other players as well, which, we can, bring Stellar up with XLM, XDC as well, QNT definitely. But we are now in the home run territory of, finally getting to the point in time where these things are really being confirmed through a lot of documentations, announcements, collaborations. It's only a matter of time, in my opinion, until we start to see major moves happen, because it's now 2024. We're almost halfway in this year already. 2025, we get global crypto regulatory frameworks announced. 2026, we probably have full-on regulations in the space. By the end of 2027, they're trying to meet those targets around cross-border payments. I do think that for the next roughly 3 years, guys, every single one of these years, even 2024, we are going to see a lot of major moves happening around regulations, adoption, announcements regarding what they're focused on with technology. I mean, we're already kind of seeing this with the BIS projects announced with quant and API usage with CBDCs. It's very clear on what's going on here. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, to notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.